question from Emily. She's asking, what's the best advice and what's the worst advice you've ever been given?
Hey, Emily. The best advice I've been given, well, I've been getting a lot of great advice, luckily, I think. One of the really most interesting, I'll give you this, the most interesting piece of advice and the most thought-provoking piece of advice I've gotten was actually from Jeff Bezos from Amazon. Jeff was talking to us once about what to focus on as Jeff's an investor in Basecamp, and he's the only investor in Basecamp. And we were talking to him about our long-term growth. We want to be in business for 20, 30, 40 years. Like, we want to be here for a long, long, long time. So I was asking him about that, and he said, the secret to that is to focus on the things that don't change in your business. So to give you an example, he said, okay, at Amazon, people are not going to wake up 10 years from now and go, I wish Amazon's selection was worse. People want great selection now, and they're going to want great selection later. So we can invest in what it would take to offer a wide selection of products. People 10 years from now are not going to go, I wish it took longer to get a product I purchased from Amazon. So people today want fast shipping, and they're going to want faster and faster and faster shipping in 10 years. So they can invest heavily in the infrastructure it takes to deliver packages faster or make them more available or whatever the things are, right? People in 10 years are not going to wake up and go, I wish Amazon's customer service was rude. Like, they're going to go, I wish it was better and friendlier. And so that's going to matter today and tomorrow. So if you can make big investments in those things are the things that are going to pay off over the long term versus chasing trends. What's hot right now? How are people working right now? So for our business, we thought a lot about this, and like, for us, customer service is a key thing. Right now, if you email us a question, our customer service team a question, you will get an answer in under 2 minutes, 24/7. And if you email most companies and you won't hear from them ever. So I encourage people to write support at basecamp.com or go through the support form, and you'll see that our responses are very quick and they're all real. They're not canned. But the point is that we've invested in that because we don't think 10 years from now people are going to wish our customer service was worse. And we invest in performance, so making sure that our products are fast. People are not going to wish Basecamp was slower in 10 years. And they're not going to wish Basecamp was harder to use in 10 years. So we focus on usability and simplicity and clarity at the expense sometimes of making things very, very difficult and very, very powerful and power usery. I think that, we sort of take the stand that we want to make things as clear as possible. And that means that some things you may not be able to do X, Y, and Z, but you can do X and Y really damn well. And so that's some of the best advice. Some of the worst advice I've gotten is actually, I haven't gotten it directly, but I've heard it at conferences. And it's people who tell you that the hustle is everything, that you shouldn't sleep, that you should bust your ass until you figured it out. And I just think that that's generally bad advice. There are some people who can do that, okay? And if that's your thing, then that's great. But what I think is dangerous is that when you're telling, okay, people are creatures of habit. Human beings are creatures of habit. And the things we do over and over and over are the things we tend to continue to do. And so if you're in your early 20s, for example, and you think you have to put in 80, 90, 100 hours a week, and you've got to hustle until you're bleeding out of your eyes, you're going to think that is the only way to do things. And when you turn 30 and when you turn 40, and your career probably ought to last a little bit longer than that, unless you become a billionaire, which most people do not. So you're going to have to work a long period of your life. You need to make sure that you cannot sustain that kind of behavior in your 40s and 50s perhaps. And even if you have a family, even younger, whatever it might be, it's very hard to sustain that. It's not very healthy. Some people can pull it off. A lot of people cannot. And I feel like it's important for people to understand that sleep is extremely important for your brain, for your creativity, for your energy, for your patience, for working with other people. If you're tired, you're short with other people. And then it's difficult to work with other people, and you treat other people poorly in many cases. So I think sleep is for your benefit and for others. So I think when I hear at conferences people saying, don't sleep, I think that's like the most dangerous, toxic advice you can give anyone. So I'm a big fan of sleep and want to encourage sleep. Anyway, that's a long answer.
No, it was great. Just hearing your answers to a couple different questions, you clearly balance sounds like it's something that's very important to you, and that I would assume from this conversation that you're very thoughtful about how and where you spend your time. Have you always been that way, or has it been something as through your life that you've adapted?
I think that I've sort of grown into this philosophy a bit after having lived some of the stuff I didn't like. Like I remember some of this stuff is comes back from when I got my first job at 13 and 14 and you know, jobs I'd had when I was growing up, about seeing how certain managers treat certain people. So there was this one job I had. I worked at Sport Mart, which is, I don't know if they're still around, but it might be called Sports Authority now or whatever, sporting goods store. And I would sell shoes. And I saw people there. I had a manager who just constantly looked over my shoulder and was constantly bugging me and like was constantly watching me. And I felt like she didn't trust me, or I felt like she didn't believe in me, or I don't even know. I don't remember what the feeling was. All I know is I don't like feeling like this. I don't like this job. I don't like going to this place anymore. And at the time, I didn't ever think I'd be starting my own business necessarily. So I didn't know, but I took that lesson to heart. And so when I have my own business now, I make sure that I don't pester people, that I don't bug people, that I don't look over their shoulders, that I don't make them feel like they're not trusted. I like to give people their space and their autonomy so they can do the best work of their lives. Like that should be the environment we should be creating, is an environment where people can do the best work of their lives. And that's not going to come from me pestering them. So there's that lesson. So that happened like early on, but then there's other things where I would just flat out be tired. I'd work too hard. I wouldn't be creative. I wouldn't have any energy. And I just realized that like, that's just like, forget the job, forget the work. We're human beings first. And we're biological, we're physiological. Like your body needs to sleep. Your mind needs to sleep. Sleep is actually the best thing for you. It's the best thing for you creatively. If you don't sleep, you will die faster than if you don't eat. Like that says something. And so if you don't sleep for like 3 or 4 days in a row, you'll actually go insane. Like your body needs this. And so I feel like realizing that and reading a little bit about that and having some experiences with that where I was just exhausted, taught me that like there are very, 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 very few things that absolutely need to be done that night that can't be done the next morning. There are emergencies and there are things that, you know, you need to deal with, like servers down, right? That kind of stuff, right? Other than that, very few things cannot wait till the next morning. So if it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock and you're busting your ass on something to get it done that night, just don't. Go to sleep, finish it in the morning, things will be fine. So it's just a bunch of life experiences that have sort of taught me that.
That's great.
Yep.
Fantastic.